Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I am Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing May the Devil Take You To, streaming on SHUDDER. This is a sequel that I think many of us were looking forward to, especially our special guest, award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. So let's say hello to him first because of that. All right, Christopher, how you doing, bud?
What's up? Practice my levitating powers.
Yes.
Oh, Satanas Levitas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Leviosa.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Your fingers are black enough.
Yeah, it's not enough fire.
They're not charged.
Coming out of it.
Yeah.
Hey. That's why movies aren't like real life, right?
Christopher's here all the way over from H&R and Heroes and Droids to tackle this very special film because you loved the first one. And we're very eager to see the second one, right? So
the first one is the best Evil Dead remake ever made.
It kind of is.
Better than the Evil Dead remake.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I can get down with that. All right. Also joining us is my buddy Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. You know, I'm kind of in the mood to celebrate because 3 days from now, when we're recording this, is the 40th anniversary of the release of Motel Hell. And me and Chris are doing a watch party together. Wait, Chris, did you get that watch party invitation? I seem
to have lost it in the mail.
Are you really doing one?
Oh,
that would be fun.
No,
he's gonna troll it so
I'm about
much.
to leave this podcast.
Troll.
Dare you
I'm
celebrate
done.
that?
All right. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland. She is the living dead girl with her pumpkin outfit.
Yay, pumpkin. Is anyone ready for Halloweeny?
Cute.
Halloweeny.
Don't show that Halloweeny on Zoom. That's all I ask.
Oh, yeah.
Zoom
very
Halloween.
timely.
The hallowed weenie.
God.
That could be a movie.
What have you done? Don't do that.
I
That's what Chris does whenever I mention
was
Motel Hell.
trying to but then it looked like I was. Yeah, it was not good.
Okay. We are going to review a movie tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Let's take a look at what movie we're reviewing. Yes, it's May the Devil Take You To, streaming on SHUDDER beginning October 29, 2020. The director is Timo Tjahjanto, written by the same fellow. I'm not saying his name twice. I don't know if I got it right the first time. The cast includes Chelsea Island, Wadika Sidemore, and Bhaskara Mahendra. I'm going to say it's Mahendra because that's right. All right. 2 years after escaping from demonic terror, the young woman is still haunted by unnatural vision. The dangers that await her and her friends are increasingly threatening. A figure of darkness rises to take their lives. That is the most misleading synopsis for this film. It's there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
But this, of course, is this is going to be fun to talk about. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our first impressions, then we're going to talk about the film a little bit, and then we wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. That's what you want to stick around for because that's the fun part. Yeah. All right. Since Christopher is our guest, we're going to have him start us off. Give us your first impression of May the Devil Take You To.
Well, they can take me anywhere because I love the second film. I don't think it's as good as the first, but
oh really?
But I loved it a lot. It has that visual Sam Raimi-esqueness about it. It even has like a floor cellar door. It's got a book, Book of the Dead. It's even more Evil Dead than the first one in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
And it has, there was like towards the beginning, there's one time there was like 2 jump scares in a row where I jumped both times. I was like, damn you. This film made me jump a lot. It had a lot of really wonderful segments that I think would fit right into a Sam Raimi film. It's Evil Dead, a little bit of Drag Me to Hell, a little bit of Dream Warriors in some ways. It's, there's and the I think the main thing is I just love a lot of the stuff they do with the camera. There's stuff where it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
there's one part where the person cuts their thumb and they basically almost like touch the almost like a piece of glass or something.
Like
That you touch it.
plexiglass.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's really cool. I've never really seen that done before. There's a lot of things where there's the cameras are attached to books that are being moved.
I was
Or
about to say the sliding book was so cool.
yeah, and there's
Yeah.
even parts where stuff is moving just like it moves like in the Evil Dead films where it's like shaking and stuff. And just the movement of the camera, the way it moves in certain ways. There's like one part where like the one of the deadites type people, they're looking under a bed and then the camera sort of like moves, rotates around. I mean, just the physicality, the kinetic energy of the camera work. I love it. And it also has that sort of like, fun sense of like the demonic type stuff. Like there's one part where the demon like flips off the people. And I mean, there's
my favorites.
yeah. And there's like one part where it's almost like that part in her, wow, she really liked that. It's almost like a witch laugh.
Killed me. It fucking killed me.
Do we need to throw holy water on you? There's even a part that's like hereditary where the woman's like beating her head.
Oh yeah,
against the
yeah.
door.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's like and there's even like a lights out moment using the flipping of the light switch. So it definitely,
Right.
it definitely, and that part scared the shit out of me like twice.
Yeah.
Even though I knew it was coming and I hated myself for jumping. But yeah, it's. Again, I love this filmmaker. I love how he takes some of that stuff that you normally see in like the raid films where it's very kinetic energy along with the physicality of the actors and how they throw that into the horror genre, because that's the kind of stuff that made me fall in love with Sam Raimi's films, The Evil Dead or Drag Me to Hell, where he has that sort of really cool way of storytelling where almost the camera almost feels like a third character in the way it shows off all the things that are happening around these characters. But yeah, and I think this is a great way also to do a sequel to something where they always have to get dragged back into some scenario. And in this one, they're almost like dragged into it versus a different evil force. So yeah, I loved it. I think my only critique, the CGI in parts isn't done well. I mean, it's done well in some segments, but other segments, it's kind of obvious. I don't know if they were kind of rushed in doing this. When you're doing that kind of stuff in very dark environments, it becomes very more prominent if they don't really working within the lighting within that environment. Because there's a few things with fire that are kind of not done well in certain parts, but that's my only main quibble with it. But everything else I think is spot on and is one of my favorite films I've seen this year, just based on the visual storytelling.
Yeah. And I would say that Chelsea Islam is does her best Bruce Campbell impression a number of times in this particular movie.
Her faces.
Yeah, exactly.
that
she is badass right from the beginning. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, all the stuff that gets thrown at her, and she's having to like whether it's vomiting up blood or huge tongues coming at her. She's dealing with everything.
Yes. All right, Crystal, you're up next. What is your first impression of May the Devil Take You To?
So I completely agree with Christopher on this. I thought I never saw the first one. So
what?
Yeah, I haven't. So now I obviously clearly want to see the first one. But I didn't need to see the first one to get the second one and understand it and know exactly what was happening, because they alluded to everything along the way and kind of give you little snippets. And I mean, there's a lot of exposition in this story without it being just thrown at you. Now, I have another quibble that kind of bothered me. Some of the makeup, especially in the beginning scenes, were really bad. They were
really?
The bruises were pink, practically pink. Looked kind of and then some of the face of the girl, some of it was a little cheesy, but it didn't really bother me. But it wasn't good makeup.
Okay.
But I feel like this movie was so ambitious as far as there's a lot of special effects and a lot of there's more practical than CGI, but there's a lot of CGI as well. But I mean, it's literally one after the other after the other. They probably had to skimp some spots because, dang, they had a lot.
Yeah, sequels
Like,
always have diminishing returns, right? So
Like there was a ton, and I've actually at a point I just felt like it was just one thing after another, and I wonder if they did so much that some of it got lost because
maybe.
it was just so much back toward the end. It was just like rolling at us. So I think some of that could have actually been toned down a bit, but I loved it and it was fun, and I think the acting was fantastic, and I think the Alfie character is hilarious.
Yes, she is
Yeah,
great.
she's. I like the little sister. I mean, as far as the story and the rest of it went, I think it's pretty brilliant. I have to agree with Christopher with the. I mean, when I saw the book with the shot of the book and then it being passed, I was like, God, that is so awesome. It just looks so great. Like a lot of the shots looked amazing. I was like, damn, they worked really hard on this. And that's why I don't want to like quibble over some of the little things, but some of those little things kind of bothered me.
They
But
add up, right? They add up.
yeah, it was great. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, not having seen the first one, you may have missed that the lady that the young boy sees in the flashback is the same lady that's in the first one that gets involved with the father that starts that story.
Yeah, the one that gives Ibar the book.
Oh, the black lips,
Yeah.
the black lips lady, the witchy lady, the Bible,
Yeah.
Okay.
The one he said he didn't recognize her, and that so that's the tie, is that whatever she's doing is
That's
tying these two
awesome.
stories together. Yeah. All right. Next up is Jeff Mohr. Jeff, what is your first impression of May the Devil Take You To?
Well, I'm glad that Crystal said it. You didn't need to see it, because I felt like I watched the first one over again and then watched this one. And I'm not sure I would recommend that, because if you watch like 4 hours of this stuff, it's pretty intense. It can get kind of overload. So I went back and watched it again, kind of fresh, and still liked it. But another thing to call back to the first one are the newspaper articles on the coffee table in the opening scene.
Yes.
That Dewey goes out and looks at him,
yeah.
and Les Mons, whatever the guy's name was, her father, had sold his soul for money, as opposed to Iber, who was a nastier guy. Anyway, I like this a lot too, and I like. It seems to me, I think we did the first one together too, Chris, because I remember talking about the camera movement, because I was really paying attention this time, the second time I watched it, and the camera does not stay still very long ever. I mean, even if it's not moving very much, there's just slight rotation or panning or rotating around or moving, and then the times it moves down the hall and spins around and comes back and upside down, and I think didn't it ride the saw blade too?
Yeah.
Reminds
me of the eyeball scene from Evil Dead.
Wow. Yeah. The book scene reminds me of the hand scene.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a hand coming out from behind something too, that in that one shot, I think, when the mother was sleeping with. Am I thinking of a different one? Never mind.
There was a hand when it came out of the bookcase, and it did the finger.
Yeah. So anyway, with the big finger on it. But no, I like this a lot, and I would agree completely with Christopher. I had this. This may very well be on my top 10, but May the Devil Take You was like right up there. It was one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah,
I don't think this one's quite as good. And maybe it's just because, when you see something that's totally new, it just really grabs you and I go bonkers over it. And this is, I mean, he's taken it another step, because this was intense. And these ghosts and demons that he has, they scare the crap out of me. I get goosebumps of that stuff all the time. And that creepy lady with the big black eyes and the big mouth she's in that first one a lot. She's
okay, but the sister, Jeff, the one that had the big smile, she was freaking fantastic.
Gaddis?
The one that the betrayer. The freaking betrayer.
Yeah,
the one
yes,
that one with the Stockholm sister.
The lap sitter.
Yeah, I don't get scared. I didn't even have any jump scares, but when I looked at her and she was like, And with her smiles and stuff, I was
Well,
like,
when
she's
she
fabulous.
and
She's
that might be
great.
my favorite scene, but when she's looking through the little peephole on the door, it's got that. Oh my God, that's a good shot.
Oh man,
and
when
then
she's trying to kick the door in, holy crap, that was so tense. Yeah.
Well,
so anyway,
the part with the body and the freezer was kind of creepy too.
right,
Oh,
right,
yeah,
right, all that stuff. So that's all kind of the same scene where she locks him in, and then they're looking at the little slidey hole in the naughty room, I guess, and she's got that just maniacal grin on her face. She's just insane.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, I loved it. It's I just can't even imagine the amount of work that goes into plotting the camera motions out, choreographing all that stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, right, Christopher?
Yeah. I mean, I tried to do that a whole lot more with my last film, and still, it's not to the level of anything like this. It takes a whole lot more thought process because you have to work with the actors along with the camera work, and then sometimes they practice it over and over, and that because you're actually moving it sometimes with the person when the woman's like ramming her head, the camera's moving with it, so you have to be really succinct in how you time it just right.
Yeah, keep it in focus, right? So,
mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, I love this movie as well. It really won me over quick. I wasn't sure where they would take this, right? Because the first one kind of has a very solid ending to it. And what are they going to do? There's 2 characters left from the first one. What are they going to do? And I really liked where they went. I liked how they tied it together. I liked how the big bad knew about Alfie and the big bad that Alfie's dealing with behind the scenes. And man, the camera work is fantastic. The gore is insane. All the actors are really good. I really like them. With almost no exception. Exception. There's a couple of them that were like really strong. There's like one of them was kind of a more timid because there's basically
Marta?
5. Yeah, Marta.
Marta.
There's like 5 or 6 friends that had this really horrible experience at a orphanage, and basically they're going back to free themselves from this curse. Just to give you guys an idea of what the synopsis didn't tell you. And they somehow know about, and I didn't really catch, but they bring Alfie into it. I mean, I know how
they
bring
said
Alfie.
She told the police, so somehow they must have gotten a hold of police files. I don't know.
Yeah, somehow. So they bring, they whisk Alfie away to this to help her, unwillingly help them out, and then all kinds of shenanigans happen, and it is insane, intense. There's that hall scene that we were talking about when one of the characters is trying to get in the door, and it's not the sliding door, but it's the one just with the peephole, and she's banging her head against the door, and then she like jumps up and was like holding on to the sides of the door and kicking it. My knuckles were white. I was like, what's going on here? I don't know if it was particularly scary, but it was like, oh, it's so tense. And there's some really great shots of characters doing, for lack of a better description, spider walk, kind of like an Exorcist spider walk.
So wasn't that cool? Because they actually did it where the person is actually right side up. They're just crawling like this instead of like backward. But the way they did it, it was smart.
It really works. It really works. So there's a lot going on. There's some surprises. There's plenty of blood, and there's just shenanigans left and right. And then our character evolves a little bit too. Alfie. She becomes a little Alfie plus, right? So, and I liked it. And there's a little thing with her at the end that I think might have been the creepiest visual in the movie for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you talking about? I guess.
Oh, I was gonna say, you got you, Jeff. You got you. Took you away to that special place. You blinked out for a second. It's toward the ending, and Alfie meets a very special somebody, and that was creepy for me.
Yes.
Now
I know what creep stock out here.
Yes, that was creepy. But Chris, you, as a filmmaker, this must have been like a cinematic wet dream. This must have been really fun to watch, right?
I had to change my pants twice. Once for the jump scares and the other for like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. I mean, again, it's this type of filmmaking that got me to become a filmmaker. Evil Dead 2 is my favorite horror film ever made, and it's because of the kinetic energy of the camera. And a lot of times to have that kind of visual sense, it adds a different layer to your horror. Sometimes it adds to the intensity, it adds to the abilities of the characters. Like if you're riding on a saw that's about to cut someone's head off, that it adds a whole different perspective to your storytelling, your ability to tell a story. So, you can see that he's definitely been inspired by a lot of the more visual filmmakers, especially Sam Raimi. But yeah, the whole time I was like, if my eyes could smile, they would.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, because and sometimes sometimes it's also how you stage it. Like the mise. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but like the mise en scene where you have a frame and then everything within the frame you frame it a certain way. So there's like parts where like you'll have people and then like you'll see like a sheet will rise, or there's like one part where the sheet comes down and something changes. There's other things that almost like a magic act to some degree. There's like one part where she's going through door to door. It's almost like a haunted house where you're just being scared by whatever's in each room.
Yeah, kind of Conjuring, it felt like. Or
there's a lot of stuff in the background too.
And there's like one part it didn't really do anything. There's like a part where they're in the cellar and there's like a dummy in the background, and the whole time it moved at one time. I was like, is it going to do something?
Move.
And it didn't really do anything. It's like,
the chair rocks and the ball rolls out, and you mentioned the deep freeze or the ice chest.
I mean the way that body moves inside the sheet. Because and the whole time I'm also screaming at the screen. It's like, they're not dead. Just because you've killed them, just because you shocked them, because you've done this, because you stabbed them, they're not dead. So don't turn your back on them, because every time they turn their back on, they're like, raise back up. And I'm like, you idiots, you're dealing with demonic forces.
So what I thought was super effective was there was this one shot where this ghoul was, because I did call them ghouls at a point, was like moving, but then you see the shot from the guy's perspective, and you could tell that it was like, you could tell it was a person. I could tell it was a person still. And it just sits there for an extended period of time. And he's just like watching it. And it like goes almost too long without moving. And then it starts moving. I think that's so effective because it was actually just already there, but like hidden. It's kind of, I don't know. I think those are very creative little fun ways to mess with people.
Yeah. There's one scene that really impressed me is when Alfie does, the little horn trick, and the camera was like focused on the horns of her fingers, and when when it moved, the camera moved with the hands, and everything else didn't, and it was so disorienting, but in a very effective way. Yeah,
they do that in a few. There's like one part where it's almost attached to her little sister as well, and it sort of like makes you a little bit discombobulated, because then you feel like you're a fly that's attached to the person and you're moving, so you feel their intensity, you feel their anxiety in those specific scenes. But that's the cool thing about, like, they really take the camera in a lot of different ways. I mean, there's like a really cool shot where you're looking at the people looking down at the cellar, and it goes into the woman's eye. I mean, there's all kinds of little cool transitions that they do when it comes to like some of the flashbacks. So yeah, I mean, you can see they're having a lot of fun with the camera in this film.
So let me tell you something too. Okay, so you know how they went like in the very beginning scene. I don't want to give anything away. But when
she's talking about the bed scene?
No, when she's looking through the people, I could totally tell they had contacts on her. So there's foreshadowing. I'm just saying, like, there's foreshadowing as far as what's going to come, what's going to transpire. Because I was like, what the hell? What is wrong? What is she? What's wrong with her eyes? I was like, oh, maybe nothing, I guess.
Well, there is in a couple other parts, too, with Gaddis. That Alfie finally notices.
Yep. Alfie's a great character.
Yeah.
We need to see more Alfie.
So
Chelsea Island does a great job.
So my memory of, and when I watched the first one, even this time, she's kind of timid to start with because she's been put upon by this other family, but she really does have to get out and fight at the end. But in this one, she starts right off the bat. She's just angry from first second. And when you see her and Nara, her little sister, they go into this apartment or whatever they're renting. They stop and check it out first. So you get the impression she's living like that ever since the last episode, right? They're on the lookout, they're hiding, so that explains to me why she's so much more intense right off the bat in this one. At least it seemed that way to me. I mean, she's yelling at those other guys, and I guess you'd yell if you got kidnapped.
I'm like, so that's what I'm saying. For someone who hasn't seen the first one, she didn't seem that intense. She just seemed.
She's very grumpy
like
cat.
Like a normal person would.
Grumpy cat.
She's very grumpy cat in this one, where she's just like.
Did that to me? F you guys. What the hell?
But but even after that, she's just you can tell she's changed.
Like,
Yeah,
she's sort of like what's her name in the Halloween films, to where
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, the experience has sort of changed her to where she's
tough.
She's not as timid, and she's paranoid of everything. And she's trying to be strong because now she's got to sort of make sure that she's taking care of her sister. So she's got to be that sort of asshole around people. And I mean, granted, if a bunch of people come into your house with wearing ski masks, you're going to be grumpy no matter what.
I'm like, no.
She just about kicked her
They're
asses.
lucky. They're lucky that she helped
did.
them at all. I feel like I would have been like gone right away.
Chris, you mentioned a fire. Now, there's one fire thing that I really liked, and it was obviously CGI, but when they throw it down the trap door, I guess they throw the gasoline. I just thought that was cooler than hell. I just really liked that. The way it started and crawled, it was like supernatural to me rather than CGI. I felt like.
Well, I think the problem is you could tell that the fire was not attached as well when it was moving, to where it didn't seem like they'd because a lot of times you have to track it on a person's body when you're doing that, and that's the only thing that kind of threw me off. It almost felt like somebody had just didn't do a second pass to make sure it was tracking properly. And so that, I mean, I like that idea of it, and I was trying to overcome my critique of it. But I mean, I see your point. I think it's a cool way of doing that, but for some reason it didn't. I mean, you can always say that magic is the reason that the fire is doing something.
I don't know. I just thought it looked cool.
I liked it. I wanted it to be cooler. I wish I could shut my brain off and like.
But then they switched to practical later, because then you got a guy running around on fire, right?
Well, yeah, that's when you could sort of definitely see the difference. Yeah. And there's a scene later where there's a whole room on fire. You can tell that that's a separate layer than the people in the hallway. And I was like, okay, somebody should have done a little bit better. But at the same time, they are trying to, they are trying to do a lot, probably with a very low budget.
It's ambitious. Like,
well, the first one was very ambitious, and they're all about like so much stuff slammed into one movie. So
but really, like that first makeup, like her bruises. Okay, she had these marks on her arm, and they weren't even. I'm assuming it was supposed to be like a hand, and it was like too. Like there were some things that I was like, oh, that's really bad.
I didn't have a problem with that. I thought all the effects was great. I think my only problem was just with.
Sorry.
Your opinion.
Your
opinion.
No.
I liked it better when you were lagging.
I bet you though we could get, because a lot of that stuff looked like it was like tissue paper, like just it looked like a YouTube tutorial on some of it. That's true. Yeah, like they do on YouTube where they try to like trust me, I've watched plenty of YouTube tutorials on this, guys, and they do this whole like toilet paper, tissue paper stuff that they glue on their faces and then paint over it, and it kind of looked like that.
Well, maybe it was. I mean, this is.
I didn't. I thought that was fine. I didn't even notice anything problem with it.
Yeah,
I mean, and I love the effects later with when they become full,
The
like,
tongue was
possessed.
good.
Yeah. Like
Oh, yeah. Which
the
one?
tongue.
Well, I mean, I just love I love it to where they just like, there's like full drool city, you know, with all that black stuff
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out and just, I mean,
Yeah.
it just, I don't know. It definitely, it's definitely very inspired by Evil Dead. That's for sure.
That's
But
for sure. All right. Well, we're running a little over, so it's time to wrap things up, give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. This is what you've been waiting for.
Ooh.
But first, before we do, if you are enjoying yourself, and I hope you are, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, hit the bell so you can be reminded, and leave us some comments. One of those 4 things is great. All 4 of them is fantastic. All right. Let's do this. Our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. We're going to start off with Christopher G. Mohr.
Yeah, I mean, I really love this film. I'm a huge fan of the first one. Like I said previously, it's, you know, if a remake, a sequel to Evil Dead should have been given to him. Because I think, well, there's already somebody else that's working on a sequel, Evil Dead Rising. But yeah, I think it's a really well crafted film. I think it definitely takes the stuff from the first film and then tries to add a little bit more to where it doesn't feel like it's just, you know, going everything step by step as the first film did. You know, you have that sort of whole group of people. They're dealing with a different type of demonic presence, and they also they definitely have that same kinetic sense of storytelling using the camera in all kinds of visual and crazy ways that made me fall in love with the first one. And the way it ends, I hope they make a third one. I hope they do a whole trilogy of this, because you know she's gonna sort of face that demon guy at some point again. But yeah, it's got parts of Evil Dead, got parts of Drag Me to Hell, got parts of a lot of the best parts of a lot of horror films that have been made, and the camera doesn't stay still, and that's a good thing. You know, this isn't the James Wan school of filmmaking where you might have more like structured filmmaking, but this one, you know, it's balls to the wall fun. And my only critique, like I mentioned, was mainly some of the CGI stuff, you know, in a few places. But you know, but with all the craziness of the characters, the craziness of the camera work, yeah, this is kind of like I say, a lot of times the films that I fall in love with are those kind of films that I want to do. I want to take elements that they did and do it in my own films because it inspires me a lot. As for rating, I probably will give it I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I would give it a higher rating. I would have given it a 5 out of 5 if it wasn't for the CGI issues that kind of bothered me a little bit, because it some of it felt a little unfinished. Or maybe it's just for budgetary reasons, because you know, if you have a limited budget, you can only do so much. But that's the only reason I wouldn't give it a full 5 out of 5, because I really love this film. But I think it's definitely not as good as the first, but it definitely is one of the better sequels to a horror film that I've seen in a while. As for favorite scene, that is a hard thing to answer.
Plenty to choose from, right?
I will say. I will say.
Crystal said, "Don't take mine. Don't take mine."
Which one are you gonna? So I can take it.
Nice.
I will say I will say the first encounter with the demon in the basement, in the cellar, the fruit cellar. I will say that I like that scene because it's almost like the most Evil Deadish scene, especially when that little rotating saw is basically the eyeball bit from Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. Well, there's chairs flying all different.
The chairs
directions
flying because
they're
like shaking. There's like one part where the camera almost does the jut move that they did in a few times in Evil Dead 2 with the moving of the camera. But I'll say that probably that first specific scene, that it felt very Sam Raimi-ish, but in the best way, and not something that's just a recreation, but their own interpretation of that. And I love that. So I'll say I'll have to pick that specific scene, but there's a lot of other scenes I could pick as well. So, but that's the one that kind of stands out because I love because I knew when that saw was shaking, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good for these.
No. Yeah. Even the sparks, it was great.
When it goes against the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like tense. I was like, oh, what's going to happen?
Somebody's head going to pop up. Crystal, you're up next. What is your final thoughts, your score and favorite scene?
So I know I poo-pooed some of the makeup. But it's really just in the beginning that I bet you if someone different did that makeup versus the rest of it. Just saying. But I loved it. So that clearly didn't turn me off very much. I agree with Christopher. I mean, the shots, I think the story is great. I think the acting is great. I think that it's fun. And there's a lot. It's just like it's intense, and it's funny at points. And I'm going to give it a 4.25.
Okay.
Yep. And my favorite scene is the flip off. I mean, it just killed me.
Nice.
It totally killed me because I was like sitting there, and then when I saw it, I was like, what the hell?
The what?
The flip off.
The flip off. Okay.
And it's just how it's out of the thing. I just think it's so funny. I don't know. It's so stupid. It's so petty.
There's a screen grab.
Yeah, I'm such a petty person, and I just really relate to that because I would be petty and flip someone off like that for sure. So yeah. I get it.
Such a long finger too.
Oh,
it wasn't it? Those fingers were very like, oh,
they were real skinny,
kind of creepy long.
Mm-hmm.
What are you getting at? All right, Jeff Mohr, you're next. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
I don't know that I can say anything more than they already said, other than it's fun, it's scary, and it's balls to the wall. I think everybody said that one way or another. Great acting, great camera work. It's just, I mean, if you just want to have fun, just sit there and try to, and you can't. You know, I just tried to track with the camera work, but pretty soon I'm sucked right into something. You know, it's hard to, and it's so good. So I'm giving this a 4.5 as well.
Nice.
And it might go up if I watch it a couple more times.
It might be for me too.
And I came prepared, just in case. So I had 4 favorite scenes. So
nice.
Nicely done.
How dare you?
First basement scene, cross that one off. Okay. And then, well, I'm going to say the one that we already talked about, where, and it sort of encompasses a lot of things, but when Leo is locked in the room and loses face.
Oh man, yes. And then later, oh my God.
So that includes that kind of includes Gaddis, and that includes the ice chest thing that we were talking about too. So that was just really tense, and it had a great climax in there. And I did want to mention, you know, this guy, I just love this guy. I went back and watched all of his other movies that are more, he's got a bunch that are sort of action adventure ones, and I'm going to go watch I think I'm going to watch that tonight. The Night Comes for Us, because that had some camera work. I got no idea how they did it. You know, like the camera goes all the way around the room, then it goes out the window, and there's no way that you can't see where there would have been any boom or anything. Now maybe there was an invisible cable wire or something that they could CGI out or something. But God, I didn't. I couldn't figure it out.
Have you seen the Raid films?
Yes.
Yeah, they have a lot similar.
So that's, to me, I think The Night Comes for Us is like that. And then there's that big fight scene at the end where they're in kind of that garage, and the camera's just going in crazy circles. Anyway, that's another movie. But check this out, Timo Tjahjanto, I think.
Tjahjanto,
good stuff.
Go for it. All right. For me, I loved it as well. I will admit, I was a little nervous at first. I didn't like the first intro scene with the 2 girls. It was throwing me off. I was like, what's going on here? I didn't think it was all that engaging. Yeah, I mean, it becomes important later on, so I eventually forgave it. But at first I was like, uh-oh. And then it wasn't long before that shifted gears, and it was just great. Our character, very quickly we learned she's still haunted in a very creepy scene, doing that lights on, lights off thing. Oh God, gets me every time. And then just when you get to the part where basically instead of a cabin, they're in this like 3-story, hospital that was converted into being an orphanage, right? So there's all kinds of rooms and all kinds of nonsense. There's even a cellar, and it's bonkers. It's bonkers, and the hallways are long. It gives them a lot of ample opportunity to do crazy things coming down the hallways, either crawling or underneath a sheet, make it look creepy as hell. Lots of great visuals. I love Alfie. I love the actress that's playing her. She's very much a Bruce Campbell in this. I mean, they put her through a lot of crap, and there's a time when she gets a lot of black goo on her face, and it looks just like Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead 2, right? When he gets all that stuff on his face, and he's like,
it's like Drag Me to Hell when the lady's throwing.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that too. Yeah. And that's another Raimi film. So that's 4.5 for me. 4.5. Easy. Maybe deserves more. This is going to be in my top 10 for certain. Although there are about 24 films currently fighting for that top 10.
A good year.
Yeah. Even though we don't have it. Yeah. Without being in the theater, the VOD, films have been just knocking it out between Shudder and some of the other ones that are just really, really, really good stuff. My favorite scene, I hinted toward it earlier. I was afraid somebody was going to get it. I hinted so hard. Is it's early on. It's one of the first deadites, if you will, and it's in the hallway, and our character is basically locked in a room. Ran down the hallway and locked herself in a room, and the deadite's outside peeking through the thing and screaming. And then she jumps up and is like doing a reverse donkey kick kind of thing. I don't even know how to describe it. It's so bizarre. It's just like, and the camera like comes out with her and goes back in, and it's just like, and it was so tense and so insane to watch. And if you were, it was scary. It was scary. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And then it goes batshit after that. So this is going to be on Shudder. It's on Shudder. You have Shudder.
You have Shudder. You better have Shudder.
Watch this movie. It is so much fun. And
So if you haven't seen the first one, it's on Netflix still, and so is.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm going to watch it.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still going to like it. What would they call a third one? What would they call? I mean, definitely they set it up for a third one.
Totally.
Right. So
the devil has taken you.
I don't know. The Indonesian title translates to verse 2.
Yeah.
Which kind of fits the book. So I don't know.
Devil has taken 3.
I'm not creative enough. This is why
it'll be like a 3 and take and the E and taken.
Or the devil, the 3 and the devil. I will say there's an honorable mention for favorite scene, and I hinted at that earlier too, and that's this revelation with our Alfie toward the end. That really creeped me out. So can't say much more about that.
I'm laughing because it's so funny that you find that so spooky. I thought that was like nothing. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
It wasn't the naked bloody guy running towards him.
Well, so naked bloody guy, when he had all those intestines around him and he whooped them off, I was like, man, that's gross.
Wasn't it?
That was awesome.
He pulls himself out and removes the intestines.
We're almost giving stuff away, so we can't really say anything else. But it's there are sights to see in this movie.
There's a lot.
All right, we have gone super long. So I hope you stuck with us. Hope you stuck with us this long. I hope you enjoyed this film. It is an hour and 50 minutes, this movie, and it goes by so fast. I watched it twice. I don't usually do that. But
Oh,
I
wow.
watched
Yay,
this.
Doc,
I had
yay.
to. I was like, I gotta see this again. Yeah, this is a good one for me. All right, guys. Crystal, Jeff, and Christopher, thanks for joining us. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
hanging out with me tonight and talking about this particular film.
Well,
Oh,
thanks for having us.
It's always
You're
great to
welcome.
talk about an awesome film like this one.
Yeah, instead of Motel Hell, right? Bah, bah, bah.
Hey, that was my choice on
I did-
80s.
I didn't
I
say
chose
anything.
it. I
I
chose
didn't
it
say
that
anything.
time.
You chose poorly.
And I said I
Oh,
chose it.
no.
I chose it in honor of you, Christopher.
In honor.
I
in
even
honor.
said that in the
Oh, you
podcast.
All right, so
Dishonor.
let's take the battle off screen and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.